Welcome back to the Dividend Diplomats YouTube channel, everyone. Lanny Burt, the Dividend Diplomat. Today, we are going to talk to you about a Vanguard ETF. But we're not talking to you about the Lanny's big three Vanguard ETFs. No. We're looking at a different, brand new Vanguard ETF that we've never considered before to see if it's worth buying today.
Well, you listen up, brothers. Smash that subscribe button. Give Bert the Hurt and Lanny a nice thumbs up. Because Bert's bringing in a little ETF on his YouTube channel, and I'm a little bit concerned that it's not VYM or VOO or VIG. So what does this mean to me and the community, brother?
But first, we have a little announcement here, everybody. This video, if it gets 400 likes, you subscribe to our channel, you like the video, and you leave a comment, you're going to be entered to the Dividend Diplomats coffee mug giveaway, everybody. So we're entering in the new month here, March, with a nice swag giveaway. So everyone, again, 400 likes for the video, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and leave that comment below.
There it is, guys. All right, well, welcome back to the channel. Bert decided to peel back a little bit of a layer on a Vanguard ETF that has an expense ratio of 0.10%. That yields above the S&P 500 and actually above 2%. Keep in mind the S&P 500 yields about 1.6 to 1.7%. And the ETF holds not 5, not 10, not 30, but over 100 stocks in here. And Bert, we're in times where there's obviously still rising inflation, the gray cloud of recession, Jerome Powell out there still turning up the knob. So why is this ETF speaking to you?
This ETF speaking to me because one of my favorite sectors that we always talk about here is the consumer discretionary staple. Everyone knows I love consumer staple stocks, but let's be real. We're always talking about dividend kings, dividend aristocrats on the channel. And coming off the heels of that devastating Intel dividend cut, which we just recently talked about here, sometimes finding those stocks that are recession-proof, that are ingrained in your everyday life, that you're always going to need toothpaste, you're always going to need toiletries, you're always going to need shampoo, all that good stuff. Anything around your home, you're going to need some food. That food's essential. That's part of this. Those are the kind of stocks that flock to it. So you know what? Lanny got me thinking with his ETF strategy where he's diversifying, as he said, with VYM, VOO, and VIG. I was wondering, is there a consumer discretionary ETF that might be able to achieve a higher yield and also give me some diversification within the sector I love and one that we follow here closely on this channel? So that's really what piqued my interest today, Lanny.
Speaking his interest, guys, Bert's going to do the honors here with the great big reveal. What is this ETF's ticker symbol, Bert? And, we'll go through, again, some of the metrics, the top 10 stocks in there, as well as performance.
Yeah. All right, Lanny, let's get our Clark Griswold going.
Joy to the world, the world.
We're talking about VDC. Ticker symbol VDC. That is Vanguard Consumer Staples ETF. So everybody, at this point, make sure you like and comment at this juncture of the video to let us know, are you familiar with VDC? Have you heard of VDC? Let us know already as we continue talking about this ETF.
Yeah, curious. Definitely give the video a thumbs up if you like and own VDC, Bert. So Bert, what's this composed of here?
Yeah, so let's talk through this here. Let's first go down with the sector allocation. They have obviously their largest sector here. 20% of their holdings are soft drinks, 17% are packaged meats, 15% are hypermarkets and supercenters, 19% are household goods. Those are the big four sectors that make up the rest of it. And we'll put up the chart so you can see the rest of them. So already you can see where this is leaning. So Lanny, why don't you share with some of the viewers some of the top 10 holdings in here, because they're going to sound familiar, especially when you compare them to a top 5 foundation dividend stock of our list.
Yeah, the first and biggest part of this portfolio or this ETF, and again, keep in mind the top 10, and Bert, you correct me if I'm wrong, the top 10 stocks make up 61% of this ETF.
Yeah, it's very heavily weighted towards the top 10 here. So it better be a good top 10. It better be a good top 10.
Better be, because you got Procter and Gamble at number 1 at the 12% of this portfolio.
I mean,
Coke,
that
under number,
alone, just not, I'm sorry to stop it there. It's like that kind of blew my mind right out of the gate. The number one holding in here is 12% of an ETF, where ETFs pride themselves on diversification. That's already a high allocation for just one stock out of the 101. So please continue, Andy.
now Coke is sitting at 8.76%. Pepsi at 8.18%. I mean, and it just is just massive there. So
That's
first,
29%. That's 29% right there with the top three.
I mean, pretty wild, and pretty interesting that Coke and Pepsi are right there next to each other.
I know we're at the top three. It's already kind of insane that they make up so much. So let's continue down. Number 4, Costco, 7.77%. Walmart, 7.31%. Philip Morris, 4.9%. Mondelez, 3.71%. Number 8, Altria Group, 3.34%. SD Lauder Company, ticker symbol EL, is 2.64%. And the last one in the top 10, Colgate Palmolive CL, 2.46%. So yeah, that's how you get to 61% right there. 61% were those top 10 stocks.
So it seems like we got a lot of food, beverage, and tobacco here. Just what the doctor ordered. Now, again, you've got big consumer product brands, all the Pepsi, all the chips, all the soft beverage, soft drinks, Coke, similar boat. Then you've got the big stores. You got Costco, you got Walmart, two of the biggest conglomerate type of stores that exist. And then you finally get into, again, 2 out of the top 10 being tobacco. That's pretty interesting. So on like the bookends of the top 10 list, you've got Procter and Gamble, Crest toothpaste. Then you got Colgate on the 10th position with their Colgate toothpaste branded products. So you've got the bookends on the 10 competing brands. And then, Estee Lauder, that one kind of surprised me to not anticipate them being in here. Mondelez, you can kind of see how they fit in.
Yeah, the next 5, I just rip them off quickly. General Mills, Archer Daniels Midland, Kimberly-Clark, Monster Beverage, and Cisco, ticker symbol SYY. Not the cybersecurity. We're talking the food one. I would have expected one of those to be in the top 10 instead of Estee Lauder, to be completely honest with you. I am shocked one of those did not sneak up in there.
Right. So guys, these are all global brands, global companies. A lot of them do heavy business internationally, especially when you think of the names, Mondelez, Pepsi, again, very rooted across the world, which is, hey, this is a consumer discretion. It's consumer staple here, guys. This is BDC. So Bert, what's the current dividend yield on BDC?
The dividend yield is 2.30%. So, I mean, we were joking around about it beforehand here, Lanny. When Walmart's in your top 5 makes up a large part, Costco's in your top 5. That's how you have a yield of 2.3%, even though you try to balance it out with some higher yield tobacco companies in there too. The interesting thing though is if you flip to the bottom 10, like you start flipping to the bottom of there are a lot of stocks that are jammed in there that don't necessarily pay a dividend, or the dividend is very low. And we'll put up some images here on the bottom pages. But when I was going through it, it kind of blew my mind. You have your large consumer brands here, but then you kind of stuff in some of the other ones in there, like Vintage Wines, Mission Produce, Vital Farms, Benson Hills. There's some other ones in there that are consumer staples that get you those discretionary products, exactly what the fund tells you, but they don't pay you the yield. They don't have those long-term dividend growth histories that you see in the top 10 or you see in our portfolios that we typically like to see.
Yeah, and we'll go through the DD stock screener, the PE, the payout somewhat, the dividend growth. And Bert, I know you went through about 10 years of dividend growth history as well in this ETF.
Yep, that's right here. And that's actually what I think is kind of funny. It's when you go through it, the dividend history is kind of interesting here because it's kind of what you'd expect. The 5-year average dividend growth rate, kind of bounce around the screener, is 4.41%, which consumer staples, consumer discretionary, we've been seeing a lot of low single-digit dividend growth, low to mid single-digit. That kind of matches what you'd expect from the sector overall. their dividend growth from 2021 to 2022 in the most recent year was 6.07%. Interestingly, there's just a slight bump down from 2020 to 2021. The year before that, the payout decreased 1.66%. Year before that, it increased 10.42, increased 8.01% 4 years ago, and 5 years ago it was down 0.81%. So this isn't a consistent dividend growth stock here. I mean, not a dividend growth stock. This isn't a consistent dividend growth ETF, which you'd like to see in a lot of these consumer staple companies. It's kind of just all over the place in terms of, is it growth, negative growth, negative growth, negative, modest growth, large growth, loss. It's not really that consistent. I think it's actually kind of fascinating.
Yeah. So, in the 5-year average, as one of the metrics that we'll look at, the dividend growth model, 5 years is over 4%. But if you actually peel it back to the last 10 years, you actually are about, or the last 12 years, you're at 8.3% average dividend growth rate. So really, I think depends on kind of what lens and how long you want to look back.
Yeah, and what years you include. 2 years there was 36% dividend growth, so that's obviously going to juice it up. One of those years there's 14, but it could reflect a lot of the market here too. A lot of great dividend aristocrats, dividend kings right now are in a very low dividend growth cycle because of inflation. So you're going to see a few years of 1%, 2%, 1%, very small amounts, where you'd see 5 to 10 years ago, you'd see double-digit growth. So not too far outside the market, I guess, from what you'd expect, but it's definitely not consistent like you'd see with some of the other ETFs that we're talking about here.
And because everybody owns these brands, they traditionally usually all individually have much higher price to earnings ratios, as you've seen with Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, Coke, and the like, which speaks pretty much similarly with the ETF BDC, because their price to earnings ratio based on that $187 current stock price is actually at 24.4x. So it is in line with most large consumer staples.
Yeah, and the payout ratio based on their 2022 dividend payout of $4.54 throughout the year, their payout ratio is 59%-ish based on that. So again, right in line with consumer staples. It's very much trending where you'd expect it to see. Fascinating.
And in that perfect payout ratio of 40 to 60%. And it's funny how it all comes back to fit in the Dividend Diplomat's preferred metric model.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, the dividend growth we talked about, the 5-year average is 4.41%, only increased for 1 year since 2021 was down compared to 2022. So there's not a long-term growth, but you can say the dividend's trending upwards. I think that's a fair assumption to make over the 12 years. The dividend at least moves up, despite the fact that some of the years it went down.
And I tell you what, from a stock price performance standpoint, up 35% over the last 5 years. Again, not too shabby, performs fairly well. Just look at how the consumer stocks have done over the last 5 years.
Yeah. So here, let's summarize here. Let's just kind of bring it home with VDC before we kind of give our final thoughts here. From the metric standpoint, the PE is right above the market, 24.4, payouts perfect with 59%. 5-year dividend growth rate is inconsistent, but it's 4.41%. They've increased for 1 year. The yield's 2.3%. Outside of the metrics here, they have 101 stocks. The yield's 2.3%. Low expense ratio, 0.1%. Top 10 holdings make up 61%, with Procter & Gamble taking that top spot of 12% of the fund.
So Bert, what are you thinking here with VDC?
All right, I'm going to give my answer in 3 simple letters, Laney. I'm thinking VYM, because I mean, honestly, I go through this analysis, and this entire time in the back of my mind, I've just been thinking, I can't think of one reason why I would pick VDC over VYM today, besides the fact that it's niche to consumer staples, but VYM offers more consistent dividend growth, higher dividend growth on average, more diversification, and just overall, I think a higher yield. There's a premium on that yield. I just like VYM better than VDC. It's that simple to me.
VDC though, on a stock price performance, outbeats VYM because it's closer to 40% over the last at least 5 years. But all right, that's fair. So hey, I dig it. I appreciate the head nod and the tip of the cap to VYM.
Yeah, what do you think, Laney? Anything jumping out at you about VDC?
When you think about the consumer staples industry, they're all priced up very high. makes sense because people kind of gravitate. They gravitate towards the consumer staple, a very defensive stock during this time period. Hence why stock price is up. Think pandemic, think inflation. They usually pass on that price to you, the consumer. So this ETF should perform very well, should withstand any recession, inflation, you name it. Again, they don't offer the same yield and growth as VYM and other ETFs out there. Yes, we're looking at you, SCHD as well. Yep, we're going to hear it in the comments. But let us know, again, if you haven't, definitely like the video if you haven't entered the contest.
Yeah, remember 400 likes, like the video on your own individually, subscribe to the channel and leave that comment below. And make sure, again, you share with us your thoughts about VDC compared to the other ETFs, or are you just buying some of these consumer stocks individually too? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about that.
I will say this, VYM also has a lower expense ratio. So that's another little bit of a nugget there for VYM towards BDC, guys. But yeah, let us know. Obviously, keep saving, keep investing, keep adding to that passive income total. Let's get to financial freedom, guys. Like our lives depend on it because it does. Let's go.
All right, everyone. Thank you again. If you haven't already, you know the drill. And let's end with this. If you're not with us, you're against us.
That was Bert the Herd and Lanny from the Dividend Diplomats, over and out.